Today, what I'd like you guys to do is get yourself in a position where you can see behind you. So what we're going to do is at times we're going to turn around. So do your best to put yourself in a position where you have not just like a big wall behind you, if it's possible. If it's not possible, you can look to the right or left. But ideally, position yourself so that you can see, and I want you to see in front of you. That's going to be important as well. It's not just behind you, but we will be looking behind us today. That's going to be a piece of what we're going to do. So just let yourself get in position. It'll be obviously a little bit different if you're inside. You can still go through the practice with us. It's in the majority of our facing time is going to be forward. But we will be glancing behind us. So today's practice is about looking behind us and taking some time to consider what's behind us. So, all right, let's just start off by getting ourselves grounded first and present. So we're going to take a nice deep breath in and let it go once it's full, bringing yourself into the present moment. And more with each breath that you take, allow yourself to settle more deeply into the present moment. Good work. And just let yourself become present to your own, I guess, sense of yourself right now. Your body, your state of mind, your rate of breath, your heart rate. Just noticing if it is different from how it was just a little while ago. And just how it is now, without any comparison. Noticing if you happen to feel any particular sensations on your skin. Maybe it's the wind or the breeze. Maybe it's the sun. Could be the sense of warmth or the sense of coolness. You don't always have to feel the breeze on you, but just noticing if your skin can feel that sense of warmth or coolness. You can also tap in to see if you feel moisture on your skin. Good work. So if you want, you can go ahead and close your eyes for a moment. Now let yourself travel inward a bit more. Following your breath as it enters your body. Noticing where it travels to in your body. Every once in a while, you can intentionally take a deeper breath, feeling it expanding your rib cage, your belly, and then just let it fall naturally out of you. Good job. So now go ahead and, still with your eyes closed, if you're feeling comfortable to do so, go ahead and start to listen to the sounds around you, noticing the different layers of sound, whether they be human-made, animal, bird, tree, plant, insect, just noticing the different characters who show up on the landscape around you. Noticing if there's a particular part of your landscape where there's more or less sound, or a particular quality of sound. Nice work. And then do your best to stretch a little bit beyond the soundscape that you're currently listening to. See how far your ears can reach and stretch in this moment in all directions. Okay, nice. And now, when you're feeling ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes gently so that you can see what's in front of you. Allowing yourself to just gaze gently on the landscape in front of you. Nice work. Go ahead and you can start by finding a point. Maybe it's 10 feet away, maybe it's 20 or 30 feet away, but something that you can focus your attention on. And after you focused, slowly start to soften your gaze, allowing it to encompass more and more and more of the scene around that point. Just notice what the furthest reaches of your vision are right now. And as you're doing this, become aware of the subtle motions that you start to pick up on. Just allowing your mind to identify them if you want to, but you don't need to. But if you'd like, you can sort of name what you might see moving, like, oh, leaf just fell, bird in the distance soaring, tree blowing, whatever it may be, neighbor walking by. So just as you did with your ears, sort of taking stock and noticing who's in the soundscape around you, with your eyes, you can now start to pick up on who is joining us this morning, visually speaking, in your landscape around you. Good work. So now in the next moment, I'd like you just to gently and slowly turn around and start to just gaze again with owl eyes, so really soft and gentle with owl eyes. Look behind you, noticing the landscape behind you, Just sort of start to perceive as you did when you were looking forward. Do the same thing looking backward now. Great. When you feel complete, you can turn around, facing forward again. So today's practice, we're going to be gazing behind us from time to time as a way just to remember that it's a good thing, it's a good idea to look behind. This is the time we're approaching fall, a time where the trees let go of their nuts and the plants let go of their seeds. Some of the trees also let go of their leaves. So it's a good time to look behind and just look back at what has come. And so it's a good time for this practice to remind ourselves, not out of fear, but that it is a good idea to look behind us from time to time when we're out watching birds or walking, whether it's in the street or in the forest, wherever it may be. And so we're going to practice a couple different approaches to this today. And I had a photography teacher years ago who said that oftentimes when you're hired to go shoot a particular event, for instance, he said quite often what would happen is that the event would be going on, but the real event was happening behind him. And he always made a point of looking behind him because often that's where everybody else is looking, or sometimes where nobody is looking, and people are forgetting what's happening behind. And some of the most interesting things were happening in the direction where nobody else was looking. And so I think it's also a really good practice to get into when we're learning to become more masterful with bird language and knowing the patterns and movements of the birds. So let's go ahead and we'll stay in owl eyes as much as we can today, noticing what's in front of us. And I'll let us go into silence for a couple of minutes. And I'd like you to twice in the next couple of minutes, on your own accord, whenever you feel the call to do it, to turn around. And so, like I said, we'll be in silence for the next couple of minutes. And just when you feel inspired, you can turn around and notice what's behind you. So I'd like you just to become aware when you do turn around, and you can even think about it in this moment. What emotion or thought was present for you when you turned around? You can think about the thought that came up right before you turned around and the thought or emotion that you felt as you were turning around or as you were already turned around. So just start to notice that this next time. We'll do another couple of minutes in silence. Again, gazing forward for most of it, but then occasionally turning around. And just notice what emotion or thought is present for you when you do turn around. Okay, nice. So do your best to, and maybe you have this already for yourself. I know for me it's not always the case. And we can talk about it more when the sit is over, but do your best to stay in the state of curiosity when you turn around. Just allow that. And also when you're looking forward too, whatever it is you're gazing at, allow that sense of curiosity to arise. And try your best to keep that as you're turning around also. Be curious about what's behind you. Good. And so now this time, before you turn around, what I'd like you to do is when you have that inkling to turn around, touch in with yourself first and just see if you can pick up on the vibe or even all of the sounds, the smells, the sights that you might see when you turn around. But the vibe is good, where you pick up on the energetics of the scene behind you before you turn around. Nice work. So this time we'll do it one more time. And this time, before you turn around, do your best to paint the scene that you've been looking at behind you in your mind. So think about what you've been looking at behind you, but before you turn around, see if you can paint that scene. Do you know where everything is? Where are the shrubs? Where are the plants? Where's the houses? Where's the edge of the house? Where are the windows? Like all the details that you can think of. And then turn around and just see what you notice. Good work, everybody. So just take a moment to become present to everything that's around you right now, both in front and behind, and offer gratitude or your own blessing to those ones that you interacted with today. All right, good work. So thank you for coming. You know the drill. If you need to head out, thanks for being here. I hope you have a beautiful week. And if you're able to stay for our chat, then please do so. So I'd love to hear what came up for folks, and you can talk about anything that arose for you. And maybe I'll hold off on what I was going to say. I think I want to hear from people, other folks first. So, who would like to share? You just raise your hand and we'll go around. Yeah, Gabrielle, please.
Wow, that was so interesting. The looking behind and the looking in front, and the difference in vibe for me, and why I'm always looking in front and not behind. I've sort of been working for several years now about being more in touch with my indigenous self, and which means a lot more relatedness to nature. And so in front of me, I know I'm looking towards the ocean. I can't see it, but it's there. And then it's just all these trees, and I feel so peaceful when I look ahead in front. And even to the side, I was looking to the side and there was a heron in the water. And it was just sitting very still. So it was just this very peaceful, all is good, in life. And then when I looked behind, I saw so many houses that I don't usually see. Oops. And I started judging right away. There were cars going by and they were going fast, and there's all these houses and there's fences. But then I saw a bird fly over, one of the herons flying over, and I went, okay, I'm right at the edge, of the two. And it's good to know where I'm most peaceful. So thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. What a beautiful awareness that you have of yourself and just the tracking that you were doing, of your own self this morning. Thanks for sharing that journey with us, Gabrielle. Yeah. Cheryl, and then Julia, please.
Well, it's been fun because I'm sitting at a different angle, and what I'm seeing, I'm beginning to appreciate the view from this angle, the sculpture of the trees and the shrubs and so on that I don't usually look at. But in my yard, because there's some big trees around, there's some shade and some spots of sun already in the angle of the sun. And what came to me this morning as I was looking behind me at a new view, the spots of sun and shade, it's like the sun is causing them to wake up, those plants, and I know, of course, it wakes up the color, and where there's shade, the colors aren't as nearly as vibrant, and there's a little bit of insect activity and beginning where it's sunny. And I just thought, well, I think plants probably do wake up and sleep in their own way, but I hadn't thought about it in this context before. So that was fun. I like the suggestion to be curious.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, that's so deep and really, really rich, Julia. Thank you for that. Yeah, I love that image of the sun waking up the plants. Thank you. Cheryl.
Well, when I was looking forward, all of a sudden, a squirrel walked across my fence, and I have 3 Stellars jays that have been just squawking all morning. And then a couple of California scrub jays joined in, and it was just this cacophony of loud squawking. And it was like maybe 7 trees in front of me where they were just flying from tree to tree to tree, just squawking like crazy. And I thought, I wonder what on earth is going on over there. When I turned around, I was clued to turn around when I heard little bird sounds, little teeny bird sounds. And it's the giant difference between the loud and noisies and the much quieter. And even the acorn woodpeckers were off in the distance, and they sounded so much quieter than the jays were. And it was almost humorous in the differential between them. And then I started hearing individual little birds. And every time I recognize a bird sound, I turn around and try to see it. Well, I can't see it because I've got this giant tree behind me that blocks pretty much everything. I could see through it, but not, and I didn't want to pick up my binoculars, but I heard the pygmy nuthatches and the chestnut-backed chickadees, and I heard probably the bush tits, because there was a little bit of fluttering going on in the trees, and then of course the acorn woodpeckers, but each at individual different times. So I just thought that was a most amazing thing, because most of the time I do not hear the Steller's jays going on like that in the backyard. I just don't ever hear it like that unless I'm doing something crazy like feeding them peanuts or something, which I stopped doing. But it was just like, what? What? Usually it's really quiet back here. So it was fun. It was a very fun day. And the curiosity, I had all kinds of questions about what was going on. You know, why are they going on like this? Why are they here right now? Why are the little birds flying away from there and going over to this quieter part of the neighborhood? It was just perfection. So thank you.
That's so cool. Thank you, Cheryl. It does sound like so fun and just full, really full, you know? And I'm curious, not that you have to answer this right now, but I'm curious as to if you ever figured out, or maybe you will, what the Jays were talking about, you know? It's really interesting to wonder. And the fact that even despite their vociferousness, you were still able to hear the quieter sounds behind you. Yeah. And be curious and get drawn back into almost like you were more drawn into their conversations than you were the Jays, which is really interesting because usually, right, isn't it like the loudest voice often gets our attention, you know? And so who knows the cool mysteries that might be also happening when we listen to the quieter voices. Not that we shouldn't listen to the louder ones because they can be telling us a lot too, but sometimes those quieter voices might have something else to tell us or teach us. So yeah, nice job, Cheryl. Thanks for that huge story. It's beautiful. Who else wants to share from this morning? Yeah, Anne, please go for it. And then Della, or yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just want to comment on all the different or just all encompassing ways you've taught us to be present in the moment. And I'm finding myself doing it more and more at times during the day. Yesterday, I had an encounter with a red-tailed hawk. I was taking my walk. We have a property that has a long, just tire track lane. Well, it was sitting there in the lane and I got within 20 feet of it. And he didn't, I call it a he, they didn't move. So I stopped. I wasn't going to encroach. And I thought, why isn't this bird moving? Is it injured? You know, you go through the list. And then I stopped. Is it protecting something? And I went into allies because I'm watching him. Is there something in the bushes? Maybe a juvenile. And as I sit there, I see, is it food? Oh, there's flies already around something near its feet. So it had food. And you're thinking, okay, I've solved this. I wouldn't know if he was injured unless he had tried to move away. So I went out in the other prairie, went around him. He didn't move until my husband had come down 10 minutes later with the car, with the equipment we were going to use that day. And then I got to thinking, well, I also stopped. How are the other animals reacting around him? I thought I didn't listen for bird sounds. So I have 2 logs where I put high value treats, you know, old almonds, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'd already put them on one stump and I was at the next stump. And so I stopped and I turned around. Well, the birds weren't yelling like there was a predator there, and they were going to get the seed. So they weren't concerned with him there at all. He had food. And it was just like stopping. And I've done it the last couple nights when we go outside to look for the space station or to look at the stars and stop and listen. It's not quiet, you know, and what's behind me in the cornfield. So I just want to thank you for all these techniques that stop and let me enjoy my day so much better. and appreciate what's behind me. Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
beautiful. Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Wow. Like, I mean, there's nothing else that's like a bigger gratitude in that way, you
Yeah.
know, and that you get to have that experience, that you get to have the connection with the mystery and the magic of the world because you are listening in a deeper way. You're asking the important questions and you're slowing down, you know, because
That's because
right, like
my mind is always, you're and you're walking and somebody said, I'm not seeing this. I'm looking here because I'm trying not to
yeah,
fall.
yeah, yeah,
That's how it's the safe way to walk. But stop. It's not quiet. There's crickets, there's birds, there's wind, there's a low hum from the cars a mile away.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, I just actually myself started wondering because I've been having this really strong connection with the trees that are kind of right up here and out my window, um, and I just thought, you know, I've been listening to birds these many years and learning to interpret what the birds are saying, and I just thought, I wonder if the trees are also talking to me like us, you know, if they have a different voice, different ways. Maybe it's wind, maybe it's other ways, but maybe that they're different types of wind. You know, the way we hear the wind, the way the trees move, are communicating something to our bodies that we perceive, but we might not be conscious of what it means. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, you know, when we hear certain sounds in certain ways, we think like, oh, this is just a gentle breeze, but we might not be conscious of that. But then all of a sudden, like when the wind direct, like yesterday, the wind direction changed and the trees just sounded different to me. Like the wind quality was different. It was a little bit more, but it also was, I was like, oh, this is different. What's different about this? You know, and I realized, oh, it's coming from a different direction. And I got me wondering, like, all of a sudden I'm hearing my neighbor's wind chime. And I'm like, did they just move that there? Like, did they just put that wind chime there? Or has that been there the whole time? And is it just because the wind direction has changed that now it's like the perfect angle to hit that little, you know, like whatever that piece of wood is at the bottom of the wind chime that makes it move. And yeah, just really curious about the variety or the various different sounds of the world around us. And you know, the birds are the I think the most friendly way to approach that conversation. But then the further we go down that path, the deeper we can go with the type of listening and being conscious, you know, starting to ask those questions like you're asking, Anne. So I want to just give you a big high five and nice work. Yeah, yeah, nice job, you. All right, awesome. Yeah, big pat on the back. Good job. All right, Della, you're up next.
Okay. Well, this morning was one distraction after another. And I really noticed how many birds there were, though. The birds were really singing. But we're having our first rain in months, and it was just damp and foggy when I went out. And then it started to rain on me, so I had to come in and I had a FedEx delivery and cars and trucks going by. Ay, ay, ay. So today was a challenge, and lots of scrub jays and stellars out there making lots of noise as well. So it was challenging. Yeah. Some days are like that.
They are. And, you know, in the beginning, I think you were here for when I shared sort of the intention in the beginning about, you know, this is fall, this is a time that we can choose to take to look back. And maybe you're just not ready to look back at this year yet, you know? Yeah, you're just like, nope, not ready to go there yet. Like, I don't want this year's still happening. We're not going to look back at it for this moment. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? You know, sometimes it's interesting to think about what those distractions are. Like, you could just look at them as just distractions, or it could be, you know, just something interesting that the world is providing for us, you know, as an opportunity, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Della. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So one of the things, it's interesting that none of you went there, so I'm kind of glad about that. Not that it's a good or bad thing, but one of the tracks of thinking that I was thinking that often happens to me when I look behind is almost like the instant sense of fear, you know, of just like, because I think it is like instinctively in us, you know, our back is the most vulnerable because we often don't have a good sense. We don't have eyes in the back of our heads, right? So we can't see what's happening behind there. And it's a place we can get surprised. There's that saying of getting stabbed in the back, right? Because it's like this, you're not expecting that thing to happen. And so what I notice is that when I turn around, I almost like without thinking about it, I have this fear come up where it's just like, ooh, who's back there? You know, like, is someone sneaking up behind me, or is there like a, and maybe it's all the years hanging out with like the guys at Wilderness Awareness School where they did all sneak around and, you know, try to scare each other and whatnot. But I do think that there's that part of us that's important to have. It's important to maybe have a little bit of heightened awareness to what's happening behind us because we don't have our eyes back there. But also, if we're out birding and we're tapping into the world around us and wanting to stay as connected as possible, if we suddenly change from kind of a quiet mind, sort of peaceful within, to there's danger, you know, or ooh, that, you know, that there's something maybe frightening, maybe just suspicious could be the thing. It's like suspicion comes into our mind, that changes our vibe, you know, and what we're putting out there to the world. So if you're going to go on and practice this, practice the looking behind you every once in a while. And I would advise not doing it often, but just once in a while you're out, take a look behind, take a look up, you know, don't forget those places that we don't often look at. And as best as you can, keep the eyes and the ears of curiosity, you know, like you were doing, Cheryl, and a lot of you were doing just naturally today. It's really beautiful to see that was sort of what naturally arose for you. Yeah. Claudia, did you want to say something? Yeah, please.
My fear that I have to deal with is FOMO, fear of missing out. So when I'm looking back, I find myself thinking, but what am I missing forward, or vice versa? So, and again, I know that that changes my vibe. So I appreciate the centering yourself in the moment techniques that you've been teaching us. So that helps me. I still have to deal with that though.
Of course. Yeah, I know. I totally know that feeling where, especially like, for instance, to practice this, I'm thinking, I don't know why this is coming up for me, but one of my very favorite places to go is the Bosque del Apache in New Mexico during migration of the cranes. And there are so many birds there that at this, you know, in the fall and like early winter, that it's just like, it's so exciting to look at. And so what's tricky is that, like, you know, you want to be looking in front of you, but you do also want to be looking behind you because something might be happening, but then you're looking behind you like, what am I missing in front of me? And like, you know, and it can have that like push pull kind of thing. And so just to practice and play with that in a moment where it's not sort of, where it doesn't matter, right? Where it doesn't really matter necessarily, because then the more you develop that sense of like, maybe that you are the party, you know, you are the excitement that's happening, you are the majesty that's going on in the world, rather than what's happening all around us, you know, but that's something I think most of us need to practice, you know, because it doesn't, I don't know, maybe it comes naturally to some folks, but not for me. I have to practice that one. Sorry, I was just muting while the big plane goes overhead. Maybe Zoom is muting that out. So great. Did anyone else have anything to share before we head out? Well, thank you all for coming and playing with this one today. Yeah, it's really, really fun. I really appreciate this and all of your stories and what got revealed for you. So have fun practicing it this week, and I will see you next time. And Cheryl and Della and Linda, if you guys could stay on, that would be most helpful. All right. See you guys. Talk to you later. Yeah. Let me just stop the recording.